Our good start to the new season continues, and we now try and carry some of this form over to the Champions League, where we've had a difficult start to the Champions League. Hello, and welcome to part 4 of my Bayern Munich playthrough. I am Kev, and since you were last with me, our Bundesliga form has still been... In fact, our form in just about everything has been good. You saw us lose against Leipzig in the last video. Since then, we've only conceded 3 goals in 5 games and been scoring goals for fun, including picking up a very good result against Spartak Moscow in the Champions League, where we scored 5 goals, which was marvellous. 4 penalties in that game, in fact. Lewandowski got a hat-trick of penalties and then missed one because it would have just been cruel to score all 4 of them. But we did play very well despite most, I think all but one of the goals coming from set pieces. But we are in some decent form. The Bundesliga looks like this at the moment, 10 games in, still just that one defeat that you saw against Leipzig. We have had an offer accepted for Timo Werner, because he's the top scorer in the league and ruined us against Leipzig. The only problem is it's a £66 million offer that is for his release clause, and we've only got £64 million of transfer budget because I've gone and spent £400,000 extra a week on renewing contracts for some of the players who were whinging about not getting enough money. So we're potentially going to have to sell in order to buy, but I do have a sale in mind, because Nicholas Soul... I'm basically relentlessly bullying this man. Every week when I get my training report in, it tells me that his training rating is like a 5 point something or a low 6. So I criticise him and then we have a row and I just basically tell him he's useless. I don't know if you can see... Does it show you his training rating from this screen? So I can prove that I'm not... There you go, training rating 5.05. He just doesn't give a monkeys. And considering this guy is somebody who is a decent Bundesliga defender at the moment, but really the reason he's in the squad is for his potential. If he's not going to be training properly, he's not going to achieve his potential. So straight away... we've found an example of where we can use this new training rating system to basically, I've pretty much ruled out Nicholas Soul as going to be an option for us going forward. I want rid of him. He's got decent value because people obviously don't realise that we're arguing all the time. Wanted by some big clubs. And hopefully we can bin him off in January, use the money to bring in an equivalent young defender with some potential, hopefully relatively cheaply. So we have an extra couple of million left over to throw at Werner and have him in as a backup striker, because once we get past Lewandowski and Müller, we don't really have anything else in attack either. There's not much in the way of strength and depth here at Bayern Munich. So it is a job building up some depth for us. But... less of that for today. Today is all about trying to secure a spot in the next round of the Champions League. We're going away to Spartak Moscow after a very good performance against them in the home leg. And hopefully a win today and we are all but into the next round. So we're going with Neuer in goal, a back four of Alaba, Hummels, Boateng and Kimmich, with Tolisso and Thiago in midfield, Lewandowski up front with Koeman, Rodriguez and Robben in behind. We are going for the 2 inside forwards again. I am very much enjoying watching Arjen Robben play football. He's a bit special, isn't he? He actually got a little bit of a grump on because I wasn't playing him enough after he came back from his injury. But now he's made it back into the team. He's something else. What I need, rather than necessarily bringing in more players, I'd benefit more from a time machine to try and make him 5 years younger. Right, passionate. Yes, we should win. No one cares. Whenever I'm positive, the players don't care, and it makes me very, very sad. But as you can see, if we can get a win today and other results go our way, is it 1 or 2 games to go after this one? How many? Is this our 4th or 5th game? Hold on. I had worked all this out. So this is our 4th game. But if we win it and the result in the other game goes our way, then that will have us already qualified with 2 games to spare, and then we can... ease the pressure a little bit in the Champions League, focus on pulling out a nice gap at the top of the Bundesliga so that when we come into the new year, we can take the foot off the pedal a little bit there and try and win everything. Lewandowski with his 5th penalty against Spartak Moscow in 2 games now. Can he convert this one? He does. He's scored 4 from 5 in... 95 minutes of football against this team. I think if I was Spartak Moscow manager at this point, I'd probably just instruct my defenders to stop trying to tackle anybody anywhere near their penalty area, because clearly they're pretty incompetent at it and are just giving away penalties for fun. And we're capitalising on it, which is utterly marvellous. What I do... I am a little bit... I'm kind of tempted to take Lewandowski off of taking penalties, purely because I think it's artificially inflating how well he's playing this season, because more than half of his goals have been from penalties. He's actually not been particularly effective in this system just from open play, but he's scoring all of our penalties, which is then pushing his ratings up in games, obviously showing a better goal return, and possibly leading to him playing a lot more than Muller when he might not have done if he wasn't taking penalties. So I'm toying with the idea of taking him off penalties for a more accurate rating, just to see how he's actually playing. But Kingsley Coman's picked up a knock here, and we don't want to risk a proper injury, so we're going to bring on Gnabry, who's been very, very good. Gnabry's playing a lot for us in the Bundesliga, but I still don't consider him part of my normal first choice starting 11, but I am giving him a lot of game time, and certainly he's higher in the pecking order than Ribery for me at the moment, because he, particularly on that left-hand side, cutting inside as an inside forward, he is very, very good. Here is Gnabry, just before half-time, getting to cut inside from that left-hand side again. He's got Lewandowski and Robben ahead of him, but tries to take the shot on from the edge of the area. Arjen Robben does not look happy with him. He's waving his arms around. Oh, I'm so cross with you. Don't be shooting when you can play the ball to me. But there you go. We're going at half-time, 1-0 up. We have completely controlled that first half. And really, we should be better than a goal to the good. I think I'm going to be assertively saying you've played well so far, but there's room for improvement, which motivates Tolisso. And we'll leave my assistant manager to tickle 2 more. Excellent stuff. Right, we just need more of the same. As long as we don't concede a goal in this second half, we will be 5 points clear of Roma with 2 games to go. So all but there, with Roma still to play again. So fingers crossed we should make it out of our Champions League group relatively easily, which is, it was a difficult group when it was drawn, but you'd have to expect, as Bayern Munich, no matter what Champions League group you get, bearing in mind the seeding system, there shouldn't be any combination of Champions League group that Bayern Munich don't make their way out of. So the fact we've already made quite hard work of it to get to this point shows we're not really performing as well as we should be in the Champions League, despite our very, very good Bundesliga form. But here's the goal kick out towards Alaba, who was very, very far forward. He must have been on the overlap before it got back to our keeper and just decided to stay up there. He was almost level with our front four. But it's back with Gnabry again in midfield, gets control of it, plays it through to James, who back to Gnabry. There's Alaba on the overlap again, and he's so dangerous doing that. Alaba bursts into the area, squares it for Lewandowski, and there is our second goal. And that was a lot more like it. That's the kind of goal I'm expecting to see us score. I don't want to be scoring penalties all the time. I want our system to work, and the system worked brilliantly there. That overlap was beautiful, and it was a perfect little low cross, tucked away nicely. That was a good goal. I enjoyed scoring that goal. More of that, please. This is what I want to see with our system set up the way that it is. And now we start thinking in terms of, right, we're 2-0 up, away from home, in the Champions League. Need to start making some changes, keep some legs fresh, and maybe just pull out that park the bus system again that you saw in the last episode, which is there specifically for away legs in Champions League, and Spartak get a goal back. And that felt very against the run of play. Although looking at the stats, it's been a fairly even game. I think it's just not necessarily been reflected in the highlights. But it was almost a carbon copy of the goal we just scored at the other end, although the cross comes in from slightly wider, and then it's nodded past Neuer, who I still haven't really seen Neuer have a particularly good game for us. I'm seeing other FM19 games involving Neuer as I'm mooching around the Sports Interactive offices this weekend, and everyone else, particularly when they play against him, he seems to be an absolute superstar. For me, the only time we ever really see him in a highlight is conceding a goal. I've not seen him make much in the way of really, really top quality saves. I don't know if that's part of how we're set up, or we're just not getting a lot of luck, or because we've got him playing as a sweeper keeper on attack, he's often miles out of position because he's so far forward and basically lives on the edge of the D at the edge of his area rather than hovering in the penalty area at all. But we do need to make some changes here. Thiago has picked up a knock, so he needs to be coming off. We've got Goretzka on the bench who can just come on for him. Easy peasy. And James Rodriguez is also looking tired, and I think this is probably the good time to bring the park the bus on, because we can then just take Rodriguez off, replace him with somebody a little more defensively minded, although we don't do we even have anybody who can play in that defensive midfield role? Thiago would have been the man, but he's now gone off. I'm wondering, maybe we put Alaba in there if we bring Rafinha on at the back and stick Alaba in there. It's not perfect, but hopefully it's going to be enough just to keep control of this game for the last 20 minutes or so. We just don't want to give Spartak any more opportunities to grab another goal. But it is them with the highlight now with 13 minutes left on the clock. The problem we've got here as well is if they do score, we've then got a decision to make about whether we just accept, an away draw is fine, we're still doing okay, or do we, without any substitutions left, try and shuffle this combination of players into a more attacking system to go and grab another goal. And Neuer does finally make a good save. It's a shot from the edge of the area and he turns it away for the corner. But we're inviting pressure on here, and this has always been my worry with defensive tactics, because generally I'm pretty incompetent when it comes to planning anything defensive, and I rarely find myself using a defensive tactic and it stopping goals. It invites pressure on. And now Arjen Robben's injured, and we've got to shuffle around even more to accommodate the lack of him. So we're going to sacrifice our box-to-box midfielder, and we'll just stick Tolisso out there, I guess. In fact, what we could do is stick Tolisso there, put Alaba on the left-hand side of midfield, and Gnabry on the right-hand side of midfield. We're getting very, very far away from perfect now. But hopefully we've got enough in us to just prevent a goal. Here's Alaba actually with a chance to cross. Crosses in towards Hummels, who we're parking the bus. Why is our centre-back going up for a free kick? I think I need to tweak some of these set-piece instructions here, particularly on this tactic, because if we're parking the bus, let's not send both our centre-backs forward in the 85th minute of a game when we're 1-0 up. And we've managed to grab a third goal. It's a very poor own goal. The cross came in from Gnabry. It didn't go anywhere near a white shirt, but one of the Spartak defenders has very kindly turned it into his own goal anyway. It looked very sloppy. Gnabry very dangerous again, and that's just terrible. It looked like he was trying to head it forward, and rather than it going in the direction he was facing, it's kind of collided with the back of his head, ended up in the back of the net. It's our third goal, and that should be that now. That should secure our victory, and then we can hopefully just grab a draw against Roma, and we're through, and that will be marvellous. Come on, let's have a final whistle now. There we go. We get the final whistle. Let's pat everybody on the head. Job well done. I'm just going to calmly say it because we don't need passion in this situation. There you go. Delighted everybody. He's not passionate. That must mean he's serious. Let's be delighted. It was a very good win though. And now we go back into the league and try and extend our lead at the top of the table. Before we get into our next game, we're going to have another session of Pick on Nicholas Sewell. We've got our training report that's coming again for this week, as usual. It's the usual suspects training well and training poorly. We're getting a good idea of the mentality of our players with these new training reports that come in. So Muller always trains well. Tolisso does. Sanchez does. Thiago does. We've got the same players always training well, but every single week, Nicholas Sewell has a terrible training rating. We're going to criticise him again. I'm just going to argue with the man because I love to argue with him. So I'm very disappointed with your performances in training of late. I'm not prepared to go over this subject again. That's my Nicholas Sewell impression. Well, you know what? Just leave. No one wants you here anyway. Now we'll go and play some football. Right, ready for Mainz then, and look, very exciting. We've got some of the partnership lines developing. This is our first look at some of these in FM19s. We've got a partnership formed between Kimmich and Muller, Rodriguez and Lewandowski, and between Hummels and Boateng. So there you go, we're finally getting good at this. We've almost got full tactical familiarity as well, which considering we've only been using this, I think this is our 11th league game, probably less than 15 games in total, and we're already pretty much on full tactical familiarity, which is rather splendid. It shows that we're the fact that training is focused around it is making a big difference, because often in the past I've not had tactics fully familiar till like Christmas, and it's the 10th of November in game at the moment. So I don't know if that's just a reflection of the fact we've got very good coaches, the coaching is focused purely on this tactic and the players are receptive to it, or if it's an indication that the new system gelling together does make it easier to establish a new tactic when you first arrive at a club. But let's passionately tell them we're favourites for a reason. And there you go. Even Neuer's happy. We're learning how to green people up. And it's I might actually persist with this whole team talk thing. It still feels to me a lot like the whole press conference thing, where it's nice to do and it feels like you're doing something, so it might make you wanna do it because it feels like you're making a difference. I do still question if it has any impact at all on the game, because I've spent the last 3 years never doing a single team talk, and I don't feel like I'm missing out from it. I don't feel like we're doing much better now by doing the team talks ourselves. But let me know down in the comments. I'm happy to be corrected if you insist that team talks make a difference, but I think a lot of it is psychological. Golden FM is pointing at me as if he's saying, yes, it makes a big difference. There you go. He thinks it makes a difference. I think he's kidding himself. We've just gone 1-0 up. This is what happens when I'm recording a video in a room with other creators. I'm distracted by their heckling and don't see us score a goal. So the replay, let's have a little look at it and see what actually happened. Alaba tucks it inside to Tolisso, who plays it across to Gnabry, and it bobbles around in the area, and there you go, a tidy little finish. And we're 1-0 up. That's Rodriguez's 8th goal of the season now. He is very, very effective in that attacking midfielder position. I need to look into... I've got a conundrum as we go into the January transfer window. Let's just have a little look at Rodriguez, because he's only on loan for the season. Do we have a... we don't have an agreement to buy him, and his release clause is £449 million. So I need a backup for him, because we've only got him really as an attacking midfielder. So I need to sign another attacking midfielder. But I'd also quite like to sign him permanently. And I think the same money is going to be looking at both of those things. So I need to figure out what the way forward is for that. Again, I mean, I say you can let me know down in the comments about that. I'll have done that before you ever see these videos. So that part, you can let me know what you could have done, but I won't be able to take your advice on board for that part. But let's calmly say, because calmness worked last time, I'm happy with your performances so far. That's delighted everybody. And then, yeah, see? I'm just a motivational master. Right, we need a little bit more clinical finishing in this second half. We've had 60% of possession in the first half. Mainz haven't had a single shot, but we've only had one shot on target. There's our second shot on target. There's our second goal. It's come from a set piece, getting Boateng with his first goal of the season, and just after half-time, we're 2-0 up. As things stand at the moment, we're 5 points clear of Leipzig at the top of the Bundesliga, and that's a pretty useful situation to be in, only 11 games into this season. Remember, my big goal is to... Because, with Bayern Munich, I shouldn't be thinking, it would be nice to win the Bundesliga. We're kind of working on the assumption we will win it, but I want to win everything. So the idea is be so far ahead in the Bundesliga by the time the knockout rounds of the Champions League come that we can start rotating the team a little bit more in the league, whereas at the moment we're playing a rotated team in the Champions League and playing our first team in the Bundesliga to just try and clock up as many points as we possibly can. If we can have an 8-10 point lead in the league, we can then start playing our weaker team in the league and focus on the Champions League and try to win everything, which would be nice. It'd be a nice little taster for FM19. Right, we need to make some substitutions. Rodriguez is tired. We've got Ribery is on the bench today. Look, we've got so few players in our squad now. I've mentioned before how thin our squad is. We have so few players, and I am still getting my assistant manager to pick my subs because I'm Kev, and I've just noticed he's put 2 goalkeepers on the bench today because we don't have any players. I think those youngsters that I signed in the summer, we perhaps need to pull them back from the B team and just get them hovering around in the first team squad, although they are getting important experience. We can't be in a situation where we're playing 2 goalkeepers on our bench because we haven't got enough players. That's just silly. Right, Tolisso also needs to come off, but we don't have a midfielder on the bench. I want to bring Kingsley Coman on for him and just shuffle some things around in our midfield. Maybe stick Ribery back in midfield. There you go. Ribery is going to play as a box-to-box midfielder for us. We're 3-0 up against a team who are no good. I'm sure it'll be fine. And in that vein, I'm also going to take Lewandowski off and give Wagner a little 20-minute run out up front while we decide if he is a usable third-choice option up front. Because I say he's my third choice, but often he's the first player up front who can come off the bench because Muller is often playing somewhere else, whether it's wide on the right as a Raumdeuter or playing in behind Lewandowski. So with Muller kind of being able to play anywhere in our front four, Wagner is really the only substitute option we've got for Lewandowski, which if we were to get a proper injury to him and he was going to miss a number of games, could be problematic. But Wagner just hits the post there. I mean, he got himself into a decent position. We've absolutely dominated this game. Looking at the stats, we're 3-0 up, but each team has only had one clear-cut chance. We have had 60% of the possession, though. But I do think the way we've played today, we'd need to play a lot better if we were playing against better opposition. We need to be a lot more clinical. We need to be creating better chances. And I do think I don't really know about Ribery's injured now. I've played him like 3 games all season, and every time he comes on, he gets injured. I'm interested to learn more about the Bundesliga because my initial impressions from playing a dozen games are that there are some teams that are quite good and a lot of teams that aren't very good at all. And it's pretty easy to get some results against some of the weaker teams. But I don't know if that's just because I'm playing as Bayern and obviously we're going to be better than most of these teams, or if that is a reflection of what the Bundesliga is like. But we'll give it a passionate, nice victory. Well done. Everyone's happy again. We find ourselves with a nice little gap at the top of the league. 5 points clear after 11 games. Everyone's happy. We are going to leave things there for today, though. If you have enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily FM19 videos. And thank you very much for watching.